Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in a Weekdays at Bernie segment tonight. As we reported, the Charlotte Observer newspaper editorialized this way in the transgender controversy. Quote, the thought of male genitalia in girls' locker rooms and vice versa might be distressing to some, but the battle for equality has always been in part about overcoming discomfort. Black sharing facilities with gay sharing marriage, then realizing that it was not nearly so awful as some people imagined. Well, that's kind of far out there when talking about school kids showering together. So we asked editorial page editor of the Charlotte Observer, Taylor Batten, to come on the factor, but he said he's just got too much going on there in North Carolina to fit us into his schedule. Join us now from Miami, a person not nearly as busy, the purveyor of Bernard Goldberg.com, Mr. Goldberg. All right, how do you see this?
I'll get to the Charlotte Observer, I'll segue to that in just less than a minute. Let me tell you my take on the overall issue.
Sure.
I think we have to separate the bathroom issue from the shower locker room issue because I think they're very different. The bathroom issue, for me, is a non-issue, and it shouldn't be fought as an issue. There have been actually studies on this, and they show that there's no evidence that any transgender person ever assaulted anybody in a bathroom, but 70% of transgender people have said that they were either verbally or physically assaulted while trying to use a restroom. So if we're concerned about safety, maybe we ought to rethink who the real victims are. Secondly, if a boy honestly thinks and identifies as a girl at some point in his life, I don't mean some wise guy in junior high school who says, I'm a girl today. I mean, this is a serious thing. If he identifies as a girl, let him use the girls' bathroom, go into a stall, do whatever he has to. Nobody knows what goes on there.
Well, can't there just be a separate bathroom facility? It's not hard to do that.
Well, it may be in some cases in restaurants and places like that. But, okay, if they could do that, great. But I think the shower locker room issue is very different. I think parents have every right to say, I don't want my child dressing, undressing, or showering with kids from the opposite sex. That is not being approved. That's a legitimate position.
Biologically from the opposite sex. So you have to say that because then the argument comes back, oh, they're really not the opposite sex and all that. But
well,
look,
okay,
let's get to the press coverage
Can I get to
the...
Let me do that, because I think, for me, that's the most important part. The Charlotte Observer and others who have liberal views have used the word discomfort. I've heard this a lot. And the point that they made in the part that you read is that we have to get over our discomfort to advance civil rights. Well, you know what? Sometimes the majority does have to get beyond its discomfort. If people didn't like integration 40 years ago, too bad. Get over your discomfort. But this is very different. Sometimes the minorities have to get over their discomfort. Sometimes people in the protected class have to get over their discomfort. And in the case of showering and dressing and undressing in locker rooms, I think the minority has to be concerned about
and the government's intrusion into traditional families and all of that.
That's another matter, and I totally agree with you on that.
But that dovetails into the Charlotte Observer.
But the way Barack Obama handled it was all wrong. Okay. I just want to get that out.
I'll submit to you that if we went down to North Carolina, where you have a residence, okay, and there was a poll about North and South Carolinians, do you support transgendered people showering in the locker room of their choice? All right? I would submit to you it'll be 80-20 against, at least.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the Charlotte Observer then takes this very explicit position, even mentioning explicit terms. Is that self-destructive? I mean, can you, the anger vented toward a newspaper that's in trouble anyway? The circulation is plummeting anyway.
You raise an interesting point, and I'm going to have a position you probably don't agree with. Newspapers should not be concerned about business or circulation when it comes to writing editorials. They should not do a focus group and say, this is what our audience wants. Let's give them an editorial to boost circulation and boost advertising. I'm sure there were newspapers in small towns in the Old South in the bad old days of segregation.
Sure. that pander,
that wrote editorials in favor of
But that's not the point. I'm not trying to say editorialize in a way that's going to be a monetary gain. I'm trying to say that this newspaper...
They may have hurt themselves. They may have hurt themselves.
This
and if
newspaper
they did,
is so out of touch, all right, with the people that it purports to represent. That's why that pinhead wouldn't come on here, because he knows he can't support his position in any way. I mean, if they were as noble as you're trying to make them out to be, this guy'd be sitting there instead of you and trying to say, you know what, we're sincere people, this is what we believe, this is why we believe it. He's hiding under his desk.
Well, if we have time, I'll get to that in a second.
We don't.
I just want to make
30
clear.
seconds.
Okay, I want to make clear. You do editorials if you're a newspaper based on what you believe, not based on whether your audience is going to like it. Now, if I were advising that editor, I would have said, if you can promise me this is not going to be Barney Frank revisited, I would advise him, go on with Bill O'Reilly, start out by saying, we appreciate the other side's point of view. We understand the other side's point of view. We have a different point of view, and we laid out our arguments
that's what he should do.
in our editorial.
And you could come on with him. I'd even let you sit next to him. All right? So if he gets sweaty or anything, you could say no, and then you could say, this is what he really means. You can gang up on me. But he won't do it.
Well, good. I appreciate that.
All right,
Thanks,
Bernie.
Bill.
Bernie Goldberg's going to Russia, by the way. So watch out for Putin over there. If you see a guy topless, you know, watch out.